Last month in eastern Syria, an ISIS militant was beheaded, and his remains were left for everybody in the town to see. They put a cigarette in his mouth with a note that said, "This is not permissible." And of course, what this was other ISIS militants killing him for the sin of smoking. Now, we've spoken about similar things before. ISIS has done a lot of stuff like this in the past, perhaps not surprisingly. They have what they call the morality police, and they go around and they bark at people on the street for the tiniest things you could ever imagine, like holding somebody's hand or not accompanying your sister or your mother in the right way, or a woman showing a fucking eyelash and they start screaming and they get angry about it. And Vice has actually done a video about this. I don't know how they were able to embed themselves in a car with ISIS militants, but they did, and they have this on video. And get this, according to the International Business Times, quote, "While cigarettes are allowed under Islam, they are allowed under Islam, the terror group's severe interpretation of Sharia law declares smoking as a, quote, slow suicide and thus forbidden in ISIS-controlled areas." So they essentially made up a smoking ban because they extrapolated from something that they see, right? I guess there's a rule against suicide in there, and they were like, well, I mean, smoking, we kind of already know it's bad for you, so down the road, it's going to kill you, therefore it's slow suicide. Totally made up as they go along. Is it true that if smoking is horrible for you? Absolutely. Is it true that it increases your chances of emphysema and lung cancer and all these different things? Absolutely. Is it also true, though, that with some people there's essentially no effect and they live really long lives when they smoke? Yes. Now, it's a tiny percentage, right? But it exists, so for those people, it's not slow suicide. I wonder if ISIS is doing tests and going, well, let's see if this person is predisposed to die early from smoking, or if not. If not, then it's cool, because they're not committing suicide, so they're allowed to smoke. Of course they're not doing that. They're not doing nuanced thinking. They're just a bunch of jackasses with the most rigid set of rules imaginable, and they're on a power trip. That's what this is about, a power trip. They want control, so they enforce the most arbitrary, pathetic rules. Other things that they have banned: alcohol, cursing, hash, weed, hookah. Here's my favorite: music. They banned music. Way to win hearts and minds, guys. And of course, women have to wear a full face veil at all times. So, a lot of people, you might listen to this information and go, well, we kind of already knew all that, right? But here's the conclusion that I'm going to draw based off this. I haven't heard many other people talk about this, but I think that what this story tells you is ISIS is going to collapse. And they're going to collapse not because of anything the West does, not because of anything any army in the region does. They're going to collapse because of internal problems and internal contradictions. I mean, I remember we did a story a while ago where Vice spoke to a Shiite militia soldier who was fighting ISIS. I forget where. It might have been in Syria, where they went to the front lines and fought there. And he was describing how they're all on amphetamine pills. They found an area where ISIS people were, and then they pushed them back out of that area, and I guess they had left behind their amphetamine pills. He said there were thousands of them. They found thousands of amphetamine pills that ISIS was using. So, I mean, look at these guys, man. I mean, the original story here about the guy getting killed for smoking, that is essentially somebody in ISIS who really believes the bullshit and is enforcing the beliefs against even other ISIS members. But then there's other parts of the group that are just like, oh no, we do whatever we want, we just control everybody else, right? That's the way that you want to do this. Let's be hypocrites. Let's do whatever we want and tell other people they can't do it. So you have these two different factions of people in the group that some are hypocrites and others are not hypocrites, and they enforce the rules strictly. But the one thing that's consistent in both cases is whatever the fun thing is, it's not okay for you. the people that ISIS is subjugating, the people that they would say they're just governing, right, within their so-called state. You're not allowed to drink alcohol and smoke hookah, smoke hashish, smoke cigarettes. You're not allowed to dance, no music at all, no fun. You're not allowed to do it, but sometimes they're allowed to do it. And sometimes they kill each other if they do it. But you see what I mean here? What we have is a system that is unsustainable. Because in order for any system to maintain some level of legitimacy, you gotta appease the people within the system. Every once in a while, you gotta throw them a bone and say, okay, here, I hope you still like us. I mean, look at how, for example, mafias function and drug cartels function. You essentially have the head of the mafias or the drug cartels, they're philanthropists. The people who are in areas or zones that are brutally repressed by them, every once in a while they show up and, hey, meal on me, hey, party on me next Saturday, hey, give this to your mother, I heard she's out of work, maybe this will help out a little bit. You throw some money to a poor kid in the street or something. It's the oldest trick in the book. I mean, even the fucking Taliban knows to do that, and they do that. In the regions that they have control of, they do massive public works and charity, and they help people who are poor. I'm not kidding about this. They really do. Hamas does this as well in the Palestinian territories. So the point is that ISIS, they're not fucking savvy. They're a group of marauding, savage barbarians who are on a power trip and they're high as fuck on amphetamine pills, and they're just going from place to place and, taking towns and regions that don't have centralized power anyway, and they go in there and they assert control and then they dominate over people in the most dictatorial ways imaginable, where you're definitely going to lose the support of the population. And sure, don't get me wrong, if there's attempted uprisings at some places at some times, I'm sure they won't work because ISIS has higher numbers and, they have control as of right now in some places, but that's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever, and the more popular opposition becomes, the more they're threatening what little rule they have. So this is my message to the West, is, dude, stay the fuck out. If you stay the fuck out, they're going to fuck themselves over anyway. They're going to shoot themselves in the foot. There's going to be uprises against them in the regions where they have some control today. Not only that, but of course you're going to get a stronger response from Shiites in the region. Iran is now taking the fight to ISIS. Even other Sunnis from other areas who don't have that extreme view, the Baathists are now turning on them. So it's just a matter of time. They're going to screw themselves because they are too crazy and too dictatorial, and they'll kill you for smoking.